Every episode, we put a color on the screen at the end of our videos for how risky something AI related is to use in your business. Green, yellow, red, and about half the time, it can actually be two of those colors at once, depending on how you use the tool. Now, we've never actually told you where that rating comes from. It comes from 5 questions, 2 points each, and it takes about 90 seconds to run on just about anything. So today, you're gonna learn the scoring that we use to rate if a tool is risky or not. And then we'll run 3 real tools through it right here on the video and see where they actually land, including one that scores a perfect 10, which is actually the worst possible outcome.
Hey guys, I'm Paul.
I'm Ryan.
Welcome to the Blueprint Automation Systems. All right, guys, welcome back to the AI Dictionary, where we take one piece of AI jargon each week and put it into plain English for you guys. Last week, we talked about AI note takers. We gave them 1, 2 ratings, meaning 2 different ones, depending upon technology or the recording laws around it. Green on the technology, red on the recording laws, which honestly, if you've been watching, it's something we do all the time. It's a medium overall, but the tool itself is kind of low risk. The high risk is running afoul of the laws that are applied unless you know what you're doing. So back in the agent episode, we split the thing right down the middle. Inbound calls are one direction, outbound calls are another risk rating, and we gave them 2 different colors. So we've been handing you a range and a couple of conditions for a while now and calling it a rating. Which is honest, and it's how we actually are thinking about this stuff, but it's also not something you can go use on a Monday because we never told you how and what we're measuring in the first place. So this week, pulling it apart, right? We're giving you the recipe. That way you can do some of this on your own as well, right? We want to make you guys functionally applicable. So it's a scoring system that we've been using since episode 1. And it's the same thing that we run ourselves before anybody else, before we build anything for anybody.
Yeah, and ultimately it's 5 questions, and they're simple enough that you can just hold them in your head. You don't have to write them down. There's nothing to download to follow along. But if you'd rather have it in front of you, there is a 1-page version sitting in the free school community, link down below, so you can download that and use that as like a little side guide as you're thinking about what tools you might want to build.
One quick note, so nobody's confused about which episode or which video this is. Back in episode 8, we gave you a checklist for figuring out whether the person was selling you AI is legit. This is not that, right? That one was about the vendor. This one's about the job itself, and it works exactly the same whether you're buying something, building it yourself, or just turning on a feature that you already pay for.
That's right. And let's talk a little bit about why we score things instead of using our feelings.
Just use feels, bro.
Yeah, just feel it out, man. You trust your gut. So most people size up an AI tool on the vibes, right? It feels fine or it feels scary. And both of those track how much you personally understand it rather than how much damage it can actually do for your business. Because of that, right, using your feelings, it gets the things backwards constantly. The stuff that feels scary is usually harmless because the scary feeling comes from not understanding it. The stuff that feels harmless is where people get hurt because familiar and safe are not the same thing.
So applying a score can help to fix that. Not because the number itself is precise. The number is meant to be rough. It's generalized, right? What the score does for you is force you to think through these 5 things that you might otherwise skip over in a fixed order before you emotionally are committed to that idea, which again, as small business owners, we get something in our teeth and we're like, oh, let's run towards that direction. Yeah. This might help give a little bit of pause and a process for thinking through that.
Yeah, exactly. And like we said, it takes about 90 seconds to run this on a tool. So you can do it sitting in your car between jobs. And if it's taking you longer than that, you're probably overthinking the problem.
Been there. All right, so we're gonna rate this on a 0, 1, or 2. Question number 1, what's the blast radius? If it's wrong, like if the AI tool ends up being wrong, who really finds out? If it's just you, that's a 0. If you're the only person who ever sees the output and you catch it before it goes anywhere else, great. 1 if it's your team, right? So somebody who works for you acts on a bad answer, but you fix it internally, it's annoying, but it's not gonna blow up the world. 2, if it actually reaches the outside world, outside the building, client, vendor, the internet at large. We know how reasonable that place is. This is the one that a lot of people will get wrong, and they get it wrong in the same direction every time. You score the tool based on imagining instead of the way it's actually going to be used in a month or so.
Yeah. Question 2 is, can you take it back? Can you undo the action it took, right? So 0, if you can just delete whatever it produced and move on. A bad draft, a working summary, who really cares? So you'll score a 1 point here if, let's say it's like a morning of cleanup. Somebody's got to send corrections, redo some of the work, make a couple of phone calls to send some apologies, whatever that looks like. 2 is if it can't be taken back at all. And that's money that's moved, or a message that went out to a client, or a call that already happened, or a file that left the building that shouldn't have left the building.
Right.
The honest test here is whether an apology is enough, or if an apology fixes it, you're at a 1. If the thing is just out there now and you're screwed, you're at a 2.
Question number 3, what does it actually touch? Right? So we're talking about agents that do things. So if it's information that you would tell anybody who walked in the door, hours, pricing, services, policies, that's fine. That's a 0, right? You kind of want that information out there anyway. If it's an internal note-taking or internal application, this is a 1. So your margins, your vendor terms, your processes, the stuff that you'd rather your competitor down the road not have. Number 2, if it's in regulation world or belongs to somebody else, customer records, health information, anything financial, anything about a kid, and this one can catch people a recording of another person's voice. We just talked about this in our note-taking one. So this question isn't really about how sensitive the information feels, it's about whose information it is. Your own private business stuff, it's a 1. Somebody else's completely ordinary information is a 2 because they never agreed to any of this, you did. And if you've never done compliance information as a small business owner, this one gets persnickety, right? I mean, ours is we have financial information for people, so we have to be very careful with this. I don't currently let the AI see the financial side of my clientele anything.
Yeah, exactly. Question 4. Does it talk or does it do, right? 0 if it's just writing and you're the one who sends it. So it drafts an email and you actually read it and press the button to send. 1 if it takes actions, but you're looking at them first. So having a human trap in place, right? So it books the thing and you approve the thing. 2 if it acts on its own with nobody watching. So it's sending something out automatically, it's booking, it's charging people, it's calling people automatically. That's a little more risky, right? And that's where the 2 lands. So this is the same ladder we walked in episode 3 and episode 8, I believe. And it's on the list because it moves the score more than anything else does. The exact same technology can jump several points just by being handed the keys to your shop.
Right. Question number 5, whose name is actually on it? Nobody's, it's internal, it's a draft, it never gets distributed to anybody or attributed to anybody, 0. If it's yours inside the business, your team knows you're the one who put it out there, that's at least a 1. 2, if it's your business name out in front of the customer, in front of somebody with a badge, if it goes wrong, the complaint has your logo on it, kids, because we know that's just what we want to have happen, right? So skip this question. It feels the same as a blast radius, and it isn't. Blast radius is who gets hurt. This one is who gets blamed, accountability, right? You can build absolutely anything where the damage is small and the blame is enormous, and you'd want to know that before you turned it on.
Once you've done the questions and you've written down the numbers for each of those things, add it all up. 0 to 3 is green or low risk, right? Which means go do it today. Don't hold a meeting about it. Don't build a plan. Just try it and see what happens. 4 to 6 is that yellow range or that medium risk. You can do this, and you probably need a human checkpoint somewhere in it, and you need to have decided in advance what you're checking and what you're not checking. 7 to 10 is that red super high risk area, and it doesn't mean don't ever build it. It means don't do it alone, don't do it fast, and get somebody in your corner who's actually done it before, because the failure mode here can be expensive and it doesn't always announce itself and let you know you're in trouble.
Right. Caveat. A total number can lie to you, and that's true of every scoring system everybody's ever handed you. And we'd rather just say that than let you find out on your own, right? So say you score a 3, green, right? Except the 3 came from a single 2 on question 3. What does it touch? And the 0 is everywhere else. On paper, that's identical to 3 1 spread across the board. In real life, that's not remotely the same situation. So there's a rule that sits on top of the math. Any single 2 on blast radius or what it touches or who's to blame, and it's an automatic yellow or red. Green isn't an option for us because of that high level risk somewhere in the system. Doesn't matter what the total says, yellow at best if it's not too terrible an application. If you get 2 2s anywhere in the sheet, either move incredibly slow, as Ryan mentioned before, be really careful, or what we recommend, you don't do it by yourself, whatever that total is. So here's why we bolted that piece on. Averages are how smart people talk themselves into things. We all have a way to talk ourselves into crap, okay? 100%. 9 parts of a project are clean, 1 part is genuinely dangerous, and the 9 clean parts make you feel good about the whole thing. But nobody gets hurt by the average, they all get hurt by the 1. In self-defense, we talk about how it may be a 1 out of 100, but if you're that 1, you really care about that statistic.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's exactly what happened last week with the note taker, green on the technology itself, but high red for the criminal statute and penalties on the recording law.
Yeah. All right, so now we're going to talk about 3 real tools, and we'll run through the rating system really quick on these, just so you get an idea of like what we're thinking about and how we're addressing some of these. So the first tool, an AI note taker, we talked about it last video, on your client calls or client meetings, right? So the blast radius, the summary is pretty much for you, but the recording is a conversation with somebody potentially outside of your business. So I'd call that a 1, right? Undo is the recording exists, you can delete your copy, but you can't unring the bell that the conversation actually happened. So we would put that at about a 1. What does it touch? It's somebody else's voice and they didn't potentially ask for this recording to happen. So that's a 2, and we'll talk about a caveat on that in a second. And then does it talk or do? So it listens and it writes. So it's pretty much 0 risk. Whose name is on it is yours, right? And it's not necessarily public unless you're sharing it online. So we're going to mark that as a 1. Now, if you add up all of those scores, that adds up to a 4, which is right at that green-yellow line, but it pushes it into the yellow. And then the override kicks in that Paul was talking about because of that 2 on question 3, right? So it's actually an extra little bit into the yellow because of that 1 thing. Now, here's the useful part. By telling people on the call it's being recorded, question 3 drops from a 2 to a 1 because now they've agreed to be on the call. There's no surprises, so there's a lot less risk, and the total drops down to a 3, which is now the override lifts and you're in green territory, which is why we rated that tool originally as green. Now, 4 seconds of talking moved a tool a full color rating, and that's the whole reason we score things instead of arguing about them or using our feelings to decide if we want them. Use case matters.
Just use feels, bro.
Yeah, just feel it out, man.
All right. Tool number 2. If you remember a couple weeks ago, we talked about the front desk assistant. This is your staff using it to get information quickly. Blast radius, your front desk person gets a wrong answer and repeats that answer to a customer because they're new and they don't know the differentiation. That's a 1 because you're in the loop and they're in the loop, right? Undo, that can the person correct themselves? Yeah, you fix the document. That's a 0. Okay. What does it touch? Your hours, your pricing, your policies, stuff that you tell anybody who walked in. It's probably available on your website. 0, as long as you didn't upload anything you shouldn't have, and that is a user problem, not an AI problem, not a risk problem. Does it talk or do? It answers questions. It doesn't book anything. It doesn't charge anybody. It's a 0. Again, we're talking, there's a human element here at play. That might be a red.
Yeah.
Whose name is on it? Internal, your team knows it's a tool, set it up. It's a 1. That adds up to a 2. Green, go to it this afternoon, which is exactly what we told you a couple weeks ago, and now you can see why we told you to do it. Now change something about it. Take that identical assistant, same instructions, same uploaded documents, and put it on your website where customers talk to it directly instead of through a human being. Blast radius jumps to a 2. Whose name on it goes to a 2 because it's your logo, it's your website, it's your brand. Undo goes to a 1 because now a customer's got a screenshot. That's a 6. Yellow, dark yellow. Yeah. What's the joke when you go through a red light? It was orange, right? You're in the orange territory here, kids. Nothing about the tool changed. You didn't change a setting. All that changed was who's on the other end of it. And it moved significantly. Instead of one of your employees, it's now out to the world, to the website. So when someone tells you a tool is safe, it's not a real sentence. Safe for what and for who?
Yeah, exactly. So now let's talk about the third tool that we're going to rate, and that's an AI voice agent making outbound sales calls. So we did have an AI voice agent episode, and we talked about this in depth, but let's review it here quickly, right? So blast radius, it's calling strangers. That's a 2. Undo, the call happened. There's no version of this where you can take it back. 2. What does it touch? People who never asked to hear from you, and there's federal consent law sitting on top of that. 2. Talk or do, right? It's dialing on its own all day while you're doing something else. 2. And whose name is on it? It likely opens up by saying your business name when it starts the call. 2. That is a 10 out of 10, which is as high as a rating can go. Every one of the 5 ways it can hurt you turned all the way up at the same time. Now, to be clear, that doesn't mean it's illegal, and it doesn't mean nobody should ever do it. Plenty of businesses run outbound sales calls automatically, and they run it properly. And what it means is that there's nothing really here to lean on. There's no easy part of it. And anybody who pitches that to you as a quick win is either lying to you or hasn't read the law and isn't paying attention to the legal repercussions of standing up an outbound sales agent AI. I mean, even if you're a human making outbound phone calls, there's stuff to worry about there, right? So now let's flip this a little bit, right? Same voice technology, answering your phone instead of dialing out. Somebody chose to call you. So question 3 drops to a 1 because they're expecting to be answered. Right. Undo also comes down to a 1 because you can always call somebody back. Talk or do is also now a 1 because if there is a clear path to a human being, you've got kind of like a way out there, so it lessens the risk rating. And blast radius and whose name on it is still pretty much both like a 2 because it's a customer and it's your business answering the call. So that's a 7, which is still a red. And even though it's at the very bottom of red, it's just 1 point over that line. So now we called that one a medium back in the voice agent episode. So let's square that up rather than pretend like we didn't. But running it through the actual scoring, it comes out a point higher than we said out loud in that video. And having done it, we'd probably stand by the 7 once we walked that out a second time and we really dove into each of those 5 questions. And that's the whole reason to score things instead of going on feel. And I'll be honest, when I was writing up the setup for that video, I was rushing through it a little bit. I think I was leaving on vacation for some travel. And so rather than going through the scoring, guess what I did? I trusted my feelings and led us down a little bit of a bad path there. So,
and this is a path. We're on a journey of understanding. The more in depth we get at it, the better language we can put to it. And that's what we're trying to upgrade for you guys as well.
Exactly. So it's important to make sure you're asking all of those questions and being honest about how that's actually being scored.
Evolution.
Right? So, but either way, look at the distance between those 2 scenarios, right? We're talking about a 10 and a 7 for the same underlying technology. It's just the use case is a little bit different. One of them needs a plan in place and the other one probably needs a lawyer to dig you out of trouble.
All right, so once you've scored a few, let's talk about the patterns that emerge. Almost everything green is you and a chat window, drafting, summarize, rewriting, thinking out loud. That's the most of what small business actually needs from an AI, and it's the part nobody sells because there's no invoice in it. Almost everything red has 1 or 2 things in it. Either the AI is acting without a human, red flag, or it's touching something that belongs to someone else. Usually we're talking about both, right? So the distance between these things is almost never the technology, it's the deployment, it's where the tool is getting used. Same model, different seat with different permissions is a different score, and the vendor demo almost always shows you the green version instead of a red job, right? So when you're stuck on a yellow one that you don't like, don't go shopping for a safer product. Remember, it's not necessarily the product, it's the application. So go back down the 5 questions and find the one that you can actually move. How can I change? What's the blast radius? Maybe there's putting a human in front of it before it takes any action or sends anything. Or maybe pointing it at fewer records or taking away a permission that it never really needed in the first place. Or just telling people that you're recording, right? 4 seconds to cover your butt there. That's the job. And usually it's a lot smaller than most people expect to make these things safe to use.
Yeah. So it comes to the time of the video where we talk about the BAS risk rating. So in this case, right, there's no color today since this is the thing that makes the colors. But what we will say is that the framework itself is only worth something if you actually run it before you get excited and emotionally invested, right? Score it while you're still deciding should you versus could you, right? Once you've told your team about it and you're picturing how good it's going to be, you'll find a way to make it come out green.
Right.
And so will everybody else. And that's just human nature. And that's also how bad projects get built for your small business and potentially.
I've never done that, Ryan. I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay.
And we're talking long before AI.
Oh, yeah.
Just long before AI. Yeah. So let's boil it down. 5 questions, 2 points each, right? Blast radius, undo, what does it touch? Does it talk or does it take action and do? And whose name is on it? 0 to 3 green, go ahead, go do it today. 4 to 6 yellow, put a human between it and its actions. 7 to 10 is red. What's the Zelda thing? Don't go alone, it's dangerous, take this with you, right?
Yeah.
You know, get to an expert, talk to an expert. Come join our school community, talk to us on our lives and where do I need to put checks and balances in?
And potentially leverage a lawyer if it's
100%.
something legal
100%.
touching. Yeah.
Yep.
So a 2 on blast radius or on what it touches means it's not green. Period, full stop. I don't care what the score adds up to. So no matter what the total says, you're definitely yellow or red, right? 2 2s anywhere. You probably shouldn't do it yourself. You leverage an expert or somebody that you know that knows about AI to help you through some of those things. Averages hide the thing that can actually hurt you.
Right. For you as a small business owner, you're not scoring the tool, you're scoring the job the tool touches. Same assistant is a 2 for your staff and a 6 on your website. So the cheapest way out of a yellow is almost always the 1 sentence or the 1 permission, not a different product, right? It's what the thing is allowed to handle, touch, or experience. So this is a conversation where it's really you versus you. We've closed nearly every episode of this series with that line. This is what's been sitting underneath all of this the whole time. Could you is question 4. Is it technically able to do the thing? Should you is the other 4 questions, or are the other 4 questions. And that's the part the demo, because we want to sell the fancy whiz bangs, almost never covers.
Yeah, right. So run it on like one thing this week, right? Something you're thinking about using, something you're already using, not something you're thinking about buying, because the ones you're already using are the ones nobody's probably ever scored, right? So find out the risk rating for the things that you've already put in place and take actions to reduce that risk where possible.
Right.
Our guess is you're going to find 1 green you've been treating like it's dangerous, and 1 thing you turned on months ago without a second thought that comes back at a 6 or somewhere in the red.
This is a pretty good segue into next week, actually. Next week's episode is about shadow AI. Ooh, sounds like special ops.
Dun, dun, dun.
So it's about the 12 different accounts that you don't know about. Not what you're pasting into ChatGPT. What everybody who works for you is pasting into ChatGPT on their own phones, on their own logins, where you can't see it and you can't delete it. There's no admin panel for that. There's no bill showing up to tip you off, and that's exactly what makes this a problem for you. You know, small, medium businesses, enterprise. This is a conversation we have with a friend routinely about these types of capabilities.
Yeah, exactly. It's hard to control what people are doing on their cell phones and what they have access to in your company. And sometimes, like, I actually juggle multiple AI accounts, and sometimes I'm in the wrong one on accident when I'm doing things. I have to unwind that. So. Anyway, free school community is down in the description. Come join us. We're now doing live calls every Thursday at 11 a.m. Eastern time. You can come hang out, ask some questions, see what we're working on, whatever. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the bell to turn on notifications, and we do a new one of these every single week. So stay tuned, come back where we define some more terms.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for watching.